Well, hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining today's Ask Me Anything with Data Career Mentor panel discussion. Let's get started. First of all, we will encourage you to join our Discord channel and YouTube because we're gonna post the most updated recording to the YouTube channel. And also, we have lots of very friendly for new learner. We have WeCloud Open, and we have Python SQL data scientist courses for you to upskill yourself. And also we will have new bootcamp start on this May 23rd, and also part-time for May 23rd, May 30th, and full-time on May 23rd. Okay. There's slightly different between the part-time and the full-time bootcamp. For the full-time bootcamp, we will teach SQL, Python, data science, machine learning, big data, and also you will have some personal portfolio projects. And also you will enroll to the real client projects, and also you will have one-to-one career mentor. So that's our mentor, the guest today, and they will let you know why the mentor is so important, and they will share some successful stories with you as well. And for the part-time, the only difference we do is optional for the real client project, but we still have the mentor, one-on-one mentor for students. And now I want to introduce our panelists. And we have Fan, who is a senior data engineer from Meta, and we also have Prazi, and who is a senior data product manager from Demand Sense. And they do help lots of our students have their data job landed for a different industry. And yeah, let's start with self-introductions. And Prazi, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, nice meeting everyone here. I'm Kumara Prasanna. You can call me as Prazi. Go by Prazi. I've been with WeCloudData for about 5-6 years now. I joined as a student. I did some admin jobs, and then I'm also having 14 years of experience in IT. I started as an Oracle DBA and was a data scientist. I also worked in IBM a couple of years for operations. And then I started, leading data teams, starting from the scratch. I hired and trained and mentored data scientists, data analysts. And right now I'm in a company called Demand Science. It's a B2B sales platform where we are working on a research and development team. Pretty much it's a data teams basically. So that's where I am right now. So if we can speak more on a Q&A session. Over to you, Adam.
Thank you. Fan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me well? Can you?
Yes, we can hear. Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, my name is Fan. I worked with Xiaohua for a while since he started this program, the mentorship program. We know each other a while back. So a little bit of background about myself. I graduated from University of Waterloo. I studied mathematics, then went to Ivy Business School, studied business analytics, and then got my first job in Bell, Canada. I worked there for a little bit, around 4 years. 2 years as a data scientist, 2 years as a data eng, mainly working with the Bell Media segment, helping them connect the data, connect users' data and their user profile data, create some data product, not limited to machine learning model, but also pipelines and stuff. And then joined a startup called Jobber, which is a software company. So my role there is kind of like a combination of data eng and data scientist. The main reason is that I was there for their initial data, I was in machine learning projects, but we realized we need more help on the data infrastructure side. So I end up spending more time helping them with the data infrastructure and building more pipelines there. After that, I joined Meta as a data scientist, as a data eng, because I realized data engineers is probably my passion. Spent almost a year there, just working solely with a lot of integrity data, helping them automating a lot of internal reports, creating metrics and such. It's really nice to be here.
Okay. Thank you, Fan. Thank you for the. Okay, let's move on. So I think our audience must want to know, like, can you tell your experience working as a career mentor? Like, can you maybe give us some numbers, like how, like, what's the farthest like a student you help with to get a job? Like, for example, like, do you see any student get a job in the short term, or what? Yeah, please, thank you. Let's start with Fan. Do you want to talk about your experience working as a mentor?
Yeah. As I mentioned, I know Xiaohua a while back, and he introduced me to do this mentorship program. Before this, I was working with some other companies who also provide mentorship, I would say services as well. I'll talk about my experience with WeCloudData. We started pretty early, like 3 to 4 years ago. Working with a few students, how things work is basically we have students graduated from the bootcamp, right? And Eric will be the one introduce the students to the mentor based on their background. And then we spend some time, start of the first meeting, get to know each other a little bit. And then we just started from there. Basically, my job as a mentor is helping the students understand their need, their background, and then figure out a plan for them to see what can we do in order to help them to achieve their goal. And then we'll schedule either weekly or bi-weekly calls, depends on the needs, to help them with all their needs, right? Doesn't matter it's about resumes or mock interview, or sometimes just practice some technical questions. Basically all their needs. It's pretty much my experience.
Thank you.
So Aramel, should I answer the same question, or we are going forward?
Yeah, let's go move next question. So how does one-to-one, like a career mentor, work? And I think I think this will be very like to add on some question, like how flexible it is, like why the people can get benefit with one-on-one section. Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you, Adam. And thank you, Fan, for explaining the career mentorship experience. So it's more or less similar with me as well. Again, we connect with the students as per Eric's arrangements, and then we get to know each other, and we'll feel that if we are okay to continue, right? It's just not only mentors; it's also the mentees. So mentees can also, work with mentors for a couple of days, and then you see, okay, if you see a fit, if you learn something from us, then you can still continue. If not, you have a flexibility to go back to Eric and say, you know what, I just want a different mentor, I want to try different mentors. So again, you definitely need to have a valid reason for sure, because most of the mentors here are really, really filtered, and they are in the industry as well. Just follow up with the question, how does the one-on-one career mentorship work? So basically, as we mentioned before, we will be tied up with handful of mentees. We won't have like say 20 or 25. We will be dealing with 4 to 5 mentees at a time maximum. And then we need to focus on them, right? So we meet them. How do I work is like I work with them on a dynamic basis. So since we are working on an industry, I'm also a research assistant at a university of Toronto Metropolitan University. So I have some tight schedules. So, but I prepare the students a week upfront on my timings and their timings. And then we meet them on the set timings. That's pretty much it. And then we go on a step-by-step basis, right? So right from profile, resume writing, right? You need to have a proper resume. Like there is a Canadian format. There are like different formats for different roles. Again, depending on the company, depending on the JD, we also need to have a couple of profiles in hand to apply for jobs. And then we filter in what kind of jobs you're looking for, and what's your salary bandwidth, and what's the market rate right now. We discuss all those things, and then we just kickstart the mentorship program. And again, as it's one-on-one, it's more intense. It's pretty much tailored towards every individual, and we go with the pace of the mentees actually. So I can take a quick pause here, and if you have any specific questions with regards to this question, I can take it up.
Okay, great. So also, as Friday mentioned, like if you have any questions, you can leave in the chat or unmute yourself. Our mentor is here to help you to answer the questions. For Fan, I also want to ask you a little bit more about one-to-one career mentor. And so we know there are lots of students have different demands. And like what's the most challenge for students when they are looking for a job? And are there any student mention like they have a problem with for the public speaking, or they are just free of go to the interview? How you gonna help them in one-on-one meetings?
Yeah, I'll talk about that in general. I mean, the struggles of students typically, I'll say different, right? Because everybody has their own challenges. One of the common things I've seen throughout all my students is that sometimes they don't know what exactly they're looking for. They came in, they survived from the bootcamp. Normally people did bootcamp is because they want to do something about data, right? Whether it's data engineer or data science. I would say a lot of people is not really sure about that. And I would say their previous backgrounds has nothing to do with data, which doesn't help at all, right? So normally it comes to me saying that, hey, I just want to work with data, but I'm not entirely sure what's the difference between, well, it's just there are so many positions out there, like data analyst, data scientist, the BI analyst, consultant, data engineer, machine learning data engineers, all kind of stuff. So what I normally do is we schedule a chat just for me to really help them understand what is the differences between every single position, and then help them understand, hey, in terms of, I would say data scientist or data analyst, what kind of skills you need, right? What is the technical skills you need? What is the soft skills that need help you to success, right? And then after that, we'll follow up offline saying that, hey, do you know what kind of direction one heading, right? Normally people know at that point. If they don't, that's fine. We can still chatting more about the industry, about the company, right? How does it look like? How about my day-to-day? I can of course ask some of my friends to share their experience, and then come back to the students, hey, this is how this looks like, and does it helps, right? And after that, well, basically all the experience, I was the mentorship experience is tailored to what they want to do, right? Like just say if they make up their mind saying that, hey, I want to be a data scientist, then good. Starting from the resume, right? Let's help you make sure all the qualifications are there on your resume and shows that you have the qualification, you are a good candidate. And then we're starting preparing the, after that will be like interview questions and such. Right. Yeah, I think that's my answers. Do you need more details or?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have students who do the career switch and they are not new to the industry. People always sometimes get lost. I think mentor is very important to give them advice, to lead them to the right path. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the next questions. And what are some of the struggles or typical mentor encounters during the job search? I think this is very important. Do you mind both to answer these questions? Farzeh, do you want to start first?
So first thing is that, as Fan mentioned, like they actually don't know what kind of jobs they are ready for. First, we need to personalize the job for them, right? So basically, we want to choose either are you more towards the data science, or are you more towards the data engineering, or you're planning towards the DevOps. So I find a couple of mentees actually struggling to figure out. If I ask them a question, what kind of roles you're looking for, I'm getting answers for all three of them, right? So we need to have a focus on specific job title or related. Like let's say like if you want to go on a data engineering side, right? So you can be a data architect, you can be a system architect, you can be you can be a solution architect. So these are the similar roles that you can actually aim for. Again, they're all like nuances between those roles, but again, when compared to industries, so they throw up all these different kind of titles, but most likely the job is the same. Jobs are the same. So basically, we wanted to make sure that, okay, these are the qualifications that you are, and we want to focus these kind of jobs. And then I actually walk the mentees through the LinkedIn recruiters page. How can a recruiter see your profile through a recruiter's view, right? So I actually walk the mentees through that so that they get an idea how their profile looks. That gives them a more perspective, eye-opening perspective for them, and then they change their LinkedIn profile and also their resume so that they can actually focus on their strengths.
Yes, thank you. Ben, do you have any response to this question?
Yeah. So I just want to ask something to just specifically about job search, right? I would say once they figured out what I want to do, like searching and applying becomes another thing, right? I would say sometimes like you have to make sure you don't get defeated too fast. Sometimes I spoke to the students that they're just sounds like super frustrated. I have a student last year around the end of the year, around Christmas season is pretty hard to find a job, find an interview, right? And just because, and also the environment is kind of bad, like people are doing layoff. Yeah, it's just nothing looks right. He gets pretty defeated. I have to comfort him and saying that, hey, it's not about you, not about you're a bad candidate, right? Is about like it's such a bad time. What I suggest is to just go through lead code questions, go through all the behavior questions, make sure you're ready when something came up. And at that time, you have nothing to regret, right? Because you have everything prepped. You can just go in there and just make sure you answer all the questions right and make sure you behave very well. So I would say, like, even for now, right? Like I would say the market is starting to get better, a little bit better than last year. So it will get better and better. But I would say it's a long journey. Of course, everyone want to land a job like that, but it's normally not the case, right? With this kind of scenario, people are getting it off, more people are in the market, but you just have to be patient.
Yeah, thank you, Fan. I agree. Like lots of students, they may have struggles, and sometimes not because their skills or not because they're like background. It's sometimes just the luck. So, but people will get emotional if they get rejected because they think they are. People believe their skills solid, but the feeling fail to get an offer could hurts the feelings. I think mentor is very important role to let you know that's not your problem. It's just probably the job market or probably there are other reasons. Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah. So let's move on to the next questions. Can you share some of your success mentor stories? Yeah, I know there's lots of students you have lots of successful story. Maybe just give audience like one or two examples. So let's start with Farzi. Thank you.
Yeah. So I had a mentee called Daniel. Like I'm just using a different name, confidential purposes. So he actually he had a pharmaceutical and a sales background, which is like strange. And then he did data science bootcamp, and because of his background, it was very hard for him to get a job, right? Because he didn't have any kind of data experience. But what we did is like we together worked on building a couple of portfolios, data portfolios. So I asked him, what are the projects that you used in the bootcamp? So he collected 3 of those projects. So what I did is like I asked him to have an architecture diagram. So develop for these 3 portfolios and keep it in the presentation. So in all his technical rounds, he was able to share his screen and go through those architecture. And he was able to acquire, I believe that he acquired like 4 to 5 different offers. And 2 of them is from Vancouver. And he asked for relocation, but they didn't accept it. So he rejected them. And finally, he was also confused which offer to choose, because there is two different offers. One is from NASDAQ, and one is I believe it's from I think TELUS. So again, those both are great companies. Again, as the roles, I asked to check his manager or the recruiter for the career growth and stuff, and he finally chose NASDAQ. So it was a very great successful story. Again, it was over 40 to 45 days of. He was very sharp. He was ready to do all the homework and assignments, whatever that we did. We asked him to do. So finally, he landed a job, and he was very happy, and we are happy too.
Okay, thank you, Fazi. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great story. I'll talk about yeah, I'll use the same example that I just mentioned, right? I have some students who can also find a job really fast, but this cannot represent all the struggles, right? Because normally people go through boot camps, they spend all those times like studying new stuff, and they're trying to change their mindset from their old background to the new ones. It's not always easy. The guy I used to work with is a PhD students in mechanical engineer, super smart guy. But the problem about him is that he has some pressures in terms of you need to land a job really fast. He need to feed his family. I see the struggle. He want to find a job within 6 months. He has a lot of pressures and mentally that we talk and we figure out a plan. The problem about him is that it's not, I wouldn't say it's hard to get interviews, but the problem is that for PhD students, they tend to drill down to all the details really far. And I shouldn't say it's a bad quality, but in terms of interviews, that will give you some headache, right? You can't just talk about some detailed stuff for like 20 minutes. You only have 1 hour. You just can't do it. So I was able to spending some time with them to say that, hey, I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk about all the details, but you need to make sure you're talking about the details at the right time. And he's being really selective on the jobs. I get it. He want to land on something really good, with a really good paycheck. And he was aiming for data scientist. And in the middle of this, he saw a great opportunity about a data eng. He was talking to me saying that, hey, do I get any chances landing this job? So we end up spending like 2 weeks helping him with all the knowledge to help him get prepped, right? But the good thing is that he's willing to learn. I'm just feeling amazed at how he can learn all the stuff within 2 weeks, all the basic knowledge within 2 weeks. In the end, he ended up getting the position as a senior one. But I would say it's a middle-sized company. They're doing a mixture of data eng and data scientist, which is perfect and exactly what he's looking for. I would say he landed a job in Fab, which is definitely within 6 months. So I'm really happy for him.
Great, thank you. Very good story. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, maybe Adam, I will just add one point to that, right? So like when we are looking for opportunities outside, again, you can be very specific as Fan mentioned as the candidate. At the same time, you also need to look at the opportunities and on the job descriptions. Some companies always say that there's a data science role, but when you see the job descriptions, it will be all ETL tools involved. It's more like data engineering role. So you kind of want to see it updated, and I would say like have a 50-50% role, and then be confident in what you speak. That would definitely help you a lot.
Great, thanks. Okay, let's move on to the next questions. And what advice do you have for job seekers who are trying to break into the data industry? I think we have lots of students who come from not the data background. Especially I see lots of students come from financial background and the engineering backgrounds. Can you share your some can you give them some suggestion? Thank you. Okay. Let's start with Fan. Do you want to start first?
Yeah, I can throw some advice there. So yeah, I would say like most of my students are having a different background than data itself. But what I really want to mention is I want to say it doesn't matter which industry you're in, right? You at some points you're dealing with data, because right now data is everywhere, right? doesn't matter which industry you're working in, doesn't matter what kind of position this is. So I would say sometimes like I got these questions a lot, right? Should I not to mention like my previous job on my resume? My answer is definitely no, right? Because we can always turn something into positive, right? We don't have to like just drop everything you used to have, because I would say experience is experience, right? Some of the skills are transparent. For example, like collaboration, presentation, because let's use data scientist as an example, right? Presentation is such an important skills, because once you have the model, you need to present it to the bigger groups, right? Doesn't matter if it's the business clients or it's your stakeholders. You gotta make sure you can present it well. You can talk to no-tech background people. I would say those are kind of skills you can easily pick up from other jobs. Doesn't really has to be data. So I would say advice, in terms of advice, right? Always make connections, right? Do not limit yourself, limit your knowledge just within the bootcamp, right? You did something else before, you definitely are successful, right? Make sure you can connect it, some of the previous experience with some of the skills I just mentioned, right? And then, yeah, of course, in the end, in terms of the technical questions, definitely learn your project. I think for the bootcamp, people did tons of projects, right? Make sure you can talk about it. Make sure you know all the piece of details, because that shows how technical you are. So that will be my two advice.
Very good suggestion. Thank you. Pardon, yeah.
So I just gave the example, right, for the previous question. Same person actually is not from a data background. So there's two different things. One is a domain knowledge and one is a technical knowledge, right? So the technical knowledge you can acquire from boot camps like WeCloudData that is providing, right? And then also you can watch lots of YouTube videos, and then you can gain those technical knowledge. Again, you're from a domain where you're well versed out. Let's say you're from sales, right? So sales definitely need data analysis. So they need to forecast things. If you have a pharmaceutical experience, so again, there's a lot of combinations that involve data analysts to perform in pharmaceutical industry. So if you look for, I would suggest go to your domain and look for opportunities. Go to their career page. You will definitely see some data related roles, most likely, because everything is everything is digitalized right now. So everything is data. So look for it, have a basic understanding of data analysis, apply those knowledge to your domain. And there are a couple of better approaches, like go to kaggle.com. There are a lot of data sets, like pharmaceutical data sets or networking or whatnot, just name it, they have it, right? So do some data analysis on that, convert that into a portfolio, have an architecture diagram to show that to the employer. So it's kind of a systematic process to whatever the job that you're applying. If you have the systematic process in place, pretty sure that you'll be landing in a job. It's just a matter of time.
Great, thank you. Okay, so yeah, we have some audience who just joined, and if you have any questions, you can leave the question in the chat or unmute yourself, and our mentor will be happy to answer these questions. For the next one, yeah, so actually, I think I will leave more time to the audience so they can ask you these questions. But actually, before that, I do have a comments, and also I kind of like something I mentioned to the students. It's pretty much the same as a Pardeep mentioned. So when you go to the data job, first you have to know yourself, like which industry you are interested in, right? So and also you have to narrow down your targets. The reason is I believe there are so many. If you're like for different roles, there are different domain knowledge, and they will use different tools. So once you know like which industry you are interested in, and you can go do some Google search, find the tools you use, find the model deployment, and focus on the smaller area. So that means you will use less time and can target the right industry easily. Yeah, so based on my suggestion to the students, do you have comments on that? And do you think it's important to understand the needs, or it's better just follow the trend? Like for example, if there NLP model is very popular. For example, the ChatGPT or other new tools coming. Should we focus on the trend, or it's better for us to know like what we're interested in, which is more important?
So if I can answer, I think passion is a very, very important stuff. So if you just follow the trend, you'll get lost in somewhere. So it's just that, so like, you follow ChatGPT, like you actually follow trend. That's why you want to switch careers. Let's say like you are from different background and you follow the trend. Data analyst, data scientist is going to be having a big growth in the future, and they are these are hot cake jobs, right? So you are switching your interest already from some other domain to data domain. I would always not think like that, right? So I will say like I am excelling in my domain. I'm using a data. I'm just using or visualizing. I'm using the data to visualize things. I'm trying to tell a story using the data. So that's the approach that you want to take. Let's say like ChatGPT is again, it's like a niche market. It's getting more niche every day because there are lots of services coming up, right? So I would say like if you have a passion, you will land in the trendy side, then follow the trend and get lost somewhere. So that's my take. But again, fan might have some different opinions, but I'll be open.
Yeah, I'm fully on board. I think that's a valid comment. I just want to add something to the domain knowledge, right? I would say in terms of like candidates, right, domain knowledge is definitely important. Some people has already make a career change. They don't want to change their industry because they love it. Could be the case, right? And I would say, let's use data scientists as an example. Domain knowledge is super important because let's just picture that you're creating a risk model, right? And one common things that people tend to mention a lot is garbage in, garbage out. If you want to create some models, it has to be result driven. We want to create something to do something, not just that, hey, I would just want to use machine learning, but for what? I'm not sure. That shouldn't be the case, right? Let's just say you want to create a risk model. You got to understand what goes into the data because it goes into the model. Because in terms of models, you have a lot of open packages out there, a lot of open framework that you can take advantage of. But in terms of data, that's the unique stuff, right? About the business. That needs tons of domain knowledge. You just let's just say you have previous experience with the industry. That's perfect. Because the industry, you know the business, right? You know what's going into the model. So likely the result of the model will be decent, right? So I would say definitely think about the industry that you're about to either applies or walk into, because that would be a more crucial part.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so still like if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and I'll leave the question in the chat. Yeah, so another question actually from my side is we have students who new graduate, and actually I just help them to do some mock-up interview, and some students are like to read from script. I'm not sure if you notice that like if you help some student doing the mock-up interview, some student cannot leave without the script. They always want to read it. Do you have some suggestion for this kind of like this kind of student? Do you think memorize the answer or better, or is it better just share your knowledge, like share your experience, even though you don't have that much experience in this data area?
Yeah, like I would suggest to have like these are the things that we will cover in the mentorship session, right? So we would always tell you how to present yourself, right from introduce yourself to any questions the interviewer is asking you. So we would prepare you for mock interviews. Having said that, like things like we will tell you how to present, like there are different approaches like STAR method and also storytelling. So like a couple of things I already mentioned, right? So I asked one of the candidate to have an architecture diagram. So when you present the architecture, when you screen share, that's you already standing out. You're already standing outside the other candidates. So you're competing with other candidates, you're sharing your screen, you're confident in what you're speaking, you're explaining the architecture, the services, and you're telling them what the services does and how it's interconnected. So by explaining that simple architecture, you're telling a story, right? So that would actually capture them. I would say by heart the services, but not the actual script. So that's my feedback.
Yeah, I'll add something too as well. So I'll say sometimes like people getting pretty nervous. I got the students a lot. They're pretty nervous. Whenever they're picturing themselves in an interview setting, they're panicking. They have no idea what about to say. So it'll be better for them to just remember what they want to say ahead. Then it will help in terms of how they behave. That's just one thing, but normally I wouldn't recommend just to memorize anything like that, because once things goes wrong, you might be panic again. It's not helping at all, right? So what I would suggest is just definitely practice a lot. So whenever you got a free chance, just talk about it, talk out things loud. Just explain, for example, if you are not good at explaining yourself, introducing yourself, just do that. Just in a random setting. Picture that you're talking to a person, because whenever you're talking to someone, you are not gonna memorize ahead, right? You're just gonna explain who are you, what you did, your experience, what you're looking for, and that's it, right? It has to be logical. And I think Parsi mentioned a lot of good framework, right? That helps you to be logical. So remember, like I would say, like most of the time, I'll talk to my mentees saying that, hey, interviews is just conversation. You're talking to the person, to explaining why you're a good candidate for this job. It's not like he's interrogating you or something like that. They're not trying to break you. They're just trying to get to know you.
To just add on top of that, right? So one technique that I share with my mentees is a mirror practice, right? So you tell about yourself in front of the mirror, and you treat that as an interviewer, right? So you can actually see your facial reactions and where you're getting struck, right? When you're introducing yourself. That itself is like a 50% sailing. If you succeed, how to introduce yourself with confidence, with a better approach, right? So you guys can try it, and then you see where you're getting struck.
Okay, thank you. So there another thing I forgot to mention in the beginning. So our mentor normally will help students to polish the resume and help with prepare the mock-up interview, and also they will share some insight of the industry as well. If you, I know it's very important for students to know the job market, which actually we just did job market yesterday. And it seems there are still lots of job being posted on the Indeed. And so I have a question as a mentor. You know, if the student always want to send the resume to the company they want, do you have some suggestion or comments to the audience, like how they should send the resume? So they should send like a 10 resume, or just like do spend lots of time on one resume, make sure they have like higher chance to get interview. Yeah, that means like how many times they should prepare for the resume for each company, and do things like just spend like a like a resume, but try to make a high quality is better, or just send as many as possible, which is a better approach.
Like I guess like I would suggest like having 2 or 3 different profiles depending on the job roles that they are applying for. Again, we were just there are like a couple of formats and templates that we can follow. Like I always suggest 2 formats to my mentees. I always feel that worked out. So I cannot differentiate, I guess, a quality one or if it's down quality one, because we are definitely looking for like well-defined and a well-refined profile and 2 different versions of it, basically depending on the job description. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I'm aligned with that. Yeah. So yeah, I would suggest the same, right? Having different versions for different function of the job or for different industry is definitely helpful. I don't think you want to have customized resume for every single position, because that would be really time consuming and it wouldn't help that much, right? So and after that, it just applied. I would say after my master's, I learned it the hard way, right? Because I don't have any experience. I only have one co-op and that's it. So yeah, just has to apply with the quality. Sorry, with the quantity. I think it would definitely helps.
Great. Thank you. We have a
So
question. Oh, sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I saw that question, Alan. So one of the question says that, can you let us know about remote positions in machine learning? What are the minimum requirements to hunt for such a position? So again, like position wise, there's as Fan mentioned, there's two different ways, right? One is through networking. Try networking with people, attend meetups like this, conferences, talk to people and share your knowledge, share your profile, and also leverage the social platforms like LinkedIn, Indeed, and apply for remote jobs. So those are the best ways to look for remote machine learning jobs. I'm not sure that if you're actually meaning a part-time freelancing machine learning job. But if that's the case, again, there are like freelancing portals like Upwork, there's multiple things like that. You can try those. And yeah, prepare yourself like to be a better fit by having a couple of portfolios that should, give you a job there. And another question, how is it if a person wants to move from academic background to R&D and industrial position? Any suggestions on that? So I am kind of 50-50 in that. So I'm a research assistant myself. I'm working for a Toronto Metropolitan University for a supervisor in Ted Rogers. So I would say like from academic, I personally know a friend who did her postdoc and then she moved to an industry. She's one of the senior data engineer in RBC. So again, it depends on your passion, right? Are you really want to support only the academia world, or you want to implement and contribute your skill sets to the industry? So I would be the second person. So I want to share my skill sets to the industry. At the same time, I want to be a mentor. I want to maintain the academia as well. So that's what I'm doing. I'm balancing them both. Again, it's a little tougher. Sometimes it's time consuming. Sometimes it's a little stressful. But if you're able to manage and get your support from your family, I think it's worth doing it.
Yeah, just to add 2 cents on both questions, right? So the common trend that I noticed, like right now, is just more and more companies are asking people to come back. So remote position will be less and less. That's just a fact, right? So I would definitely suggest to open to hybrid, or at least hybrid to get your chances there. So yeah, that was for the first one. For the second one, I would say something to keep in mind, right? The key, because myself is always industry, right? I want to say the key differences, something to keep in mind, right? For all the academia people, I want to say sometimes whenever you're doing research, you're trying all those hardcore models, some advanced algorithms, trying to tune the algorithm to the best, right? So that is how academia looks like. But in terms of industry, in terms of accuracy, we don't have that high, I would say, ask in terms of accuracy, right? Like for some scenarios, 87 or 90s are not such a difference. We want to make sure in terms of production, when we productionize the model, it saves the cost, is like, we don't need to spend that much money in terms of infra, hardware and such, right? We have different focus point. For industry, I would say if you want to like switch your direction to industry, just read some blogs, because right now more and more companies just posting blogs, right, about their latest framework, latest product. Give it a read. Sometimes people just say that, hey, this is what we use in terms of infrastructure or hardware, or some they just let you know what kind of algorithm we're using. Get to know those, then you can find a balance point in between both.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have questions. So I know there's lots of people are not sure if they are what is the like cause lots of people want to get a career switch, but they are not sure if they are like maybe they are like being in the different industry for a long time, or they are like a just new graduate. So do you have some comments or suggestion for audience, like for example, for maybe just high school new graduate or like university new grads, or for somebody already in the maybe different industry for like 20, 30 years? Do you have some suggestions or comments? Is there anything they should prepare like all their, do you think there is any disadvantage or advantage on their like a different age stage? Yeah.
I think I can talk first for this one. So I'll say for new grads, right? If you wanna like it also depends on the kind of jobs that you apply. If this is some jobs that needs like definitely at least 5 years of experience or 10 years, then you're in a disadvantage for sure. Because this is what they ask for, right? They want to hire someone who know the industry, who have the knowledge for many years, who can just work on it. Like for those kind of position, the chances for you to compete head to head is pretty low. But in terms of like for all the new grads, right? Is what I did when I graduated from college. Is I would say a lot of companies have the I would say what do you call that, rotation program, something like that, only open for new grads. Those are normally good, and you are compete with other new grads. And I would say as long as your resume, your project stands out, you definitely have a bigger chance there.
Thank you, Ben. Do you have any comments on the maybe the for new grads or somebody maybe in a different industry for a long time, and any suggestion for them?
Yeah, again, like I'll mostly agree with what Fran said. Plus, I also already mentioned that having a clear portfolio or a projects, couple of projects, at least they can actually add those projects to their profile as academic research projects, and then showcase that and always explain them that the passion they have for the industry, and any questions within those projects, if they ask, they're able to answer it. That shows them they're really desperate, they're really passionate about what they're doing, and that could give them a path. And I've actually placed a couple of candidates like that. So they didn't have a proper background, but they had just the projects, the academic research projects, and they were able to explain end to end properly, more confidence, and they got the job.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and also there's another questions, and we do have some students, they are afraid of coding, which is very strong at like a presentation, storytelling, but in terms of coding, they are so nervous, and especially for the lab coding. Is there any suggestion to help them to get rid of this fear? I believe most of students, they are comfortable not doing lab coding, but like in the interview, they cannot escape from that. Can you give them maybe some suggestion or some insight about this? Thanks.
I leave it to Fan because I'm not a coder myself. I'm not a great coder, I would say, but yeah, like I would just leave that to Fan.
Yeah, I normally don't call myself a coder. Yeah, I'm just a guy. No SQL and Python. That's it. Yeah, speaking of like practice, right? So there are really two kinds of coding problems, right? The first one is like live codings. They just give you question after questions in terms of SQL and Python. You have to answer them correct in order to move forward. Normally the time is an hour, half an hour for SQL, half an hour for Python. And there's another scenario where normally happens for data scientists is like they give you a data set, want you to make a simple model. Just want to see you, how can you handle the data? How can you create a model? Like it depends on the company, right? Sometimes they allows you to do Google, sometimes they don't, but you can't like just assume they will allow you to Google. So definitely memorize some simple syntax. It's very important. Just talk about the first one. To prepare the first one, what I normally suggest, what I normally do in terms of preparation is just time yourself, right? There are so many questions out there. LeetCode is such a good source, right, for SQL and Python. Just find the questions, open it, start timing. I would say normally just spend no more than 5 minutes on the questions. Just practice on it. Make sure you can like finish it with a good quality, right? And for Python as well, similar things. Open the questions, time yourself, make sure you can answer it within 5 minutes. Like I would say at the beginning is super hard, but don't worry too much. Just you'll get better and better. In terms of the case kind of scenario, I will say definitely like talk out things loud. That's my suggestion, right? Because normally the kind of interview I've seen is that people sitting in front of you are the one trying to help, right? They want to work on this project with you, not to see you finish this by yourself, right? So you need to explain things really well, to explain your logic, to say that, hey, this is, I want to do this, right? This is the first step, I'm doing this. And then, yeah, I want to achieve this. Do you agree? Right? Just explain your steps to him, explain your struggle to him. He is really there to help. He's not there to like saying that to watch you fail, right? So if you stuck at something, just ask him, right? Saying that, hey, I think I want to use this, but I don't really remember the syntax. Can I Google it, or can you help me with it? Normally people, yeah, they will help you, right? They want to see you success. They want to see you finish the case, not to fail the case. So that's my 2 cents.
Great, thank you, Fan. Actually, if I have another question, I'm always curious, like how hard to join the meta. I do see some YouTube, they mention it's very challenging to go to the meta and also take like I think like 4 rounds, maybe 5 rounds to get a job. Do you want just share us some like insight? Do you think like this is very difficult for like some new grads or some students to pass these interviews?
Yeah, I can talk about the general process. Of course, I can't share any questions, but I can talk about the general experience. Yeah, it's normally like begin with a HR call, just get to know you a little bit better. And then is the coding challenge. Like I said, depends on the role. It's normally an hour. Python with SQL. There, I would say like 10 questions in total. You have to like answer at least 3 from both sides in order to pass that round. I would say like don't worry about a pretty code, but just answer them correctly. That's all you need to worry about. And then after that is the on-site. We call it like a marathon. That one is like head to head, like back to back of like 4 or 5 rounds, depends on the team. 1 hour each with a hiring manager or I would say either data engineer or data scientist. Every single round is a coding challenge. It's a whiteboarding. You don't need to run anything, but you need to explain everything with the person sitting next to you. And then of course there will be a behavior round in the end. Yeah, and that's it. I think it is quite lengthy. People just like for the on-site one is quite challenging in terms of I would say like sometimes people get really tired. But yeah, something you have to go through.
Yeah, so thank you for confirm the YouTube on the YouTube are correct. It's very challenging, very hard to get into meta. Okay, so I think another things I want to ask about, and we know there's more job required on in person. How about interview? Do you think they're like in the future the interview will be in person as well, or still will be remote?
Just as it's changing to hybrid, it should be starting with remote, and then maybe the technical or the final round would be in person.
In person, okay. So do you have any new students they do require like in-person interview recently? Because I know last year always a remote interview. They don't need to go to the office. I'm not sure if there some things changes this year.
Again, it depends on mostly the companies, right? It's not all the companies do ask to come in person. Mostly they prefer remote because it's more convenient. But maybe the final round with directors or HR, maybe they just want to see you in person, right? Because since it's going to be a hybrid kind of roles, they want you to know the office routes first, and then they also want to see you take a look at the office infrastructure, how open it is, and then meet the team. So I prefer it could be hybrid as well.
I also have questions like if you are an older student, will you fund a star matter? Any I think there's stars. Yeah, in the camp, in the chat.
I would ask them to look back at their domain, what domain they come from, be very strong at it, and then have a valid reason of saying why you want to come at this point of time, right? So let's say you are in the industry for more than 20 years or 30 years in specific industry, and you want to change now. So what is a big why? And if you're able to answer that, and if you're getting convinced, I'm pretty sure the HR will get convinced too. And again, plus what are the work that we have discussed so far? If you have them both, I think you should be able to get them.
Yeah, great. I know students have not very confident sometimes if they thinking they are do the career switch. But my experience, as long you have solid skills and you're able to pass the interview, don't worry about that, because as long you have the good technical skill and you do prepare well for the interview and you can do the very good storytelling, you do have higher chance to get hired. But still, it's depend. I believe it's depend on the company size, and also sometimes you do have to rely on the job market if like and also a little bit luck. So there's no there's lots of possible, because I know lots of students get jobs, but all their story are different. And I have so yeah, you should try it. Like you should always try to pursue like what you want, and you will learn during this journey. And also actually there's another add-on question, a question from my side, and I think it's really relevant to the like changing of the world, right? So we know the data, we have some questions like it's like there will be less demand on the data job or data engineering job, because everything gonna replaced by AI, which I heard it, and which I not agree. But I want to learn from you guys, like what do you think the futures based on your experience? Yeah, thank you. Oh, and also let's say this way. So, do you recommend people to to do the career switch if they are in the for example the law industry or like financial industry, which is highly chance being replaced by AI, and also will AI replace the data science or data engineering in the future? Okay, thanks.
It's a funny question, actually. So AI will replace things, but again, it cannot replace everything. So again, I would definitely like look back to whatever we discussed so far, your domain knowledge and the interaction, the storytelling, having a chat with C executives. So everything remains same. So definitely not C executives will be interested in listening to AI. They would obviously need someone who can maintain those AI related jobs, right? So again, I wouldn't worry too much right now on if it's going to take my job. I would rather focus on my own job and how to excel it by adding more new technologies. Let's say if I'm doing a data product management job, how can I make it easier using those tools? So I would rather learn those tools than get scared out of those tools. I would always find ways myself. So right now, like I won't settle in my life at all. I always look for options, right? I always look. I attend interviews on a daily, on a weekly basis to to see how the market is working right now, and it also helps me to mentor my mentees. So this is something that I'm doing out of my work timing to make myself stay up to date with an industry. So I would ask you the same. So I would say, like, go an extra mile, stay up to date with an industry, learn new technologies. I'm pretty sure that you won't be replaced for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's such a good POV, right? Like you just use the tool, right, to learn. Because it's such a great resource. Like I use ChatGPT for a long time. It's so easy to use and understand you pretty well. It's like an easy version of Google. It helps you consolidate all the info. I just presented it right there. But am I worried about getting replaced by AI? Not really though, right? Because I would say there are a lot of AI generated content out there, not just text, right? Pictures and also code. Sometimes, like, I think GitHub has something like they help you autocomplete code in a more magical way. I try to use that. Like, doesn't matter is like that or like ChatGPT. The kind of code they wrote is pretty buggy, right? You just need people to be there, like to debug, to make sure it's suitable for your case. I would say personalization is kind of like not ideal at this moment for all those products, right? But I'll pretty sure like it will get better and better, but still, right? You need like someone to sit in there, tell them what I need so that they can work for you. Like exactly circle back to Fauzi's points, right? Just learn it, make sure you own it. You know how to operate it. You know what's the like things that he's not good at. And then yeah, just study it, make it as a good study mate. I think it'll be pretty good. Embrace it, not against it.
Great, thanks. We have some new audience just joining. So if you have any questions for our mentor, you can unmute yourself or leave your question in the chat. Our mentor will help you to answer the questions. And especially if you're struggling to find a job or you want to do the career switch, and you can ask any questions here. Okay.
I want to ask a question.
Yes.
So I'm trying to switch my field. I am a physics professor, and I've been in academics. I'm trying to switch into a data scientist role in industry, but I'm facing the hurdle that I don't have any industry experience to show on my resume. Plus, I don't have a proper computer science training, software engineering training. I've learned Python and SQL and stuff on my own, but I don't have a proper computer science degree. So that makes me feel, a little bit kind of, it's a hurdle for me. I was wondering, with the arrival of new technologies where people who have already been in the industry, they also have to learn something new, and I also have to learn something new. How can I leverage that it equalizes the playing field a little bit, and I could have something, I could provide an edge with or over someone who's already been in the field and knows a lot of coding and stuff.
Yeah,
that's a wonderful question. So, if you don't mind me asking, how many years that you have experience on the as a physics professor?
How many years of experience as a professor? 13 years.
13 years, right? So, I'm pretty sure that you would have went through a couple of interesting projects in the physics, right? So I would ask you to connect them with data. I'm not sure, like I would like I'm an engineering student. I studied physics before, but I don't really remember all these concepts. But they're all like the laws, the Newton laws and something, where you can see, you can generate the data or create a data sets similar, simulate them and then try to have some analysis. So this is kind of a weird suggestion, but I cannot be accurate. But if you understand what I'm saying, is that try to take those domain knowledge and create some data sets. You said you learn Python, you learn SQL. Try to create those data sets and then do some basic data analysis and come up with those answers. Like just plot those data and say, you know what, before applying the law, this is how the data looks. After applying the law, this is how the data looks. So these kind of differentiation that you can bring, actually, you would be already in the niche market if you're able to do this. So you don't have to, you don't have to fight with other candidates. You don't have to compete with other candidates. If you're able to convert this, you will be in a niche market and you can create that specific industry, I would say. So again, it depends on you, right? How much interest you put. Again, you have a mentor. Someone needs to see you, your work, and then guide you properly, and then that's how it's going to happen. And I would suggest you to look for data sets already, if there are any data sets available in Kaggle related to your domain, and try to do some data analysis as well. So this is my feedback for you.
I have a further question, unless someone else was going to answer this as well.
Yeah, I just want to add something, right, to Kaggle challenges. You mentioned you're being a professor for many years, right? You're worried about you can't really survive. You don't have any practical experience with it, right? Just want to add some comments on the Kaggle idea that Fuzzy offered. I would say, like, right now, right, Kaggle is such a hot place, right? People just hosting random like competition. Those are real competition. Those are real problems from companies in the industry, right? They pay for it. They want to have some killing models help them success, right? They believe there's someone out there can help them with a model, right? And they're pay for it. So in the end, they want to implement the solution to their infrastructure or to their business. So I would say it's indeed just look for those, even though you don't rank at the first or the second, but just participate in it, right? You can always see other solutions as well. Just leverage the data. I think they have all the environment set up, so you don't even need to buy any server and stuff. Just use what they have, the notebook online, and just practice.
Okay. Thank you. The other question I had was with coding. The other issue I have is with not having that much practice. When I'm trying to code, I'm looking for syntax. I don't remember the syntax so well, especially getting confused between the pandas and what's the other library, the numerical library in Python. Their syntax, which one is which is square bracket, which is curly bracket, which is which one. And plus, sometimes when I get an error, it's really hard to decode. If it's a logical error, I can understand, I can follow the logic. But if it's something else, syntax related, it's very hard for me. I could spend hours and hours trying to figure out. So with the new technology, I know people are saying that ChatGPT will help you with errors, but do you guys have something to add where the new technology can help with the syntax plus debugging and especially not the logical errors I can debug, but the syntax stuff where I call the wrong path or something like that. Which new technologies help with that?
Yeah, I can jump in first. I think for this, like ChatGPT, yeah, it is like it can understand you pretty well, other than just Googling random stuff, right? Sometimes the problem, the struggle is that you don't know how to ask the right question to Google. So you can't get what you want, right? But ChatGPT, like sometimes I would say it did a better job than Google. Of course, that can be one of the resource, right? Back to your earlier example, right? You're saying like Panda and NumPy, right? Those are different packages, right? they are like, first of all, like pandas for data frame. NumPy is just normally for numbers or an array operation. So it is designed for different stuff, right? What would really help, I think, is to, let's just say you're trying to use a package, right? Just make sure you read the documentation of it. I would say nowadays there are more and more documentation about different packages and use case. Understand what it's for, right? So that you can apply the correct package. There's so many packages out there. Doesn't like sometimes I get confused as well, right? I normally go back to the reference to documentation to see what exactly people use it for, what exactly it's designed for. I think that would be helpful.
Mhm.
Agree. So I do have some comments. I will say the SQL Python is a start, and if you pursue as data scientist, there is much more for you to learn. It's very important for you to narrow down, as I mentioned earlier, narrow down what your interest, like industry you want to try, like career switch to, and so you are narrow down the models, narrow down all this strategy or matrix you want. So you will spend less time on learning everything, and you can focus on the learning. So it's very important for you to have ideas where you want to be if you do able to successfully do the career switch and the way you want to do. And so bring that question in your mind, and then you start it. So you will find you don't need to learn everything. Otherwise, I will say there's tons of library for you to work on, and it's very time consuming. Yeah. We do have another questions from audience, and yeah. So, what's advice for seasoned data professor trying to land first job as an engineer in Canada? A little bit, and she has a background about some project, and any of you can help answer these questions. Oh, by the way, if you have questions, you can just unmute yourself and directly ask our mentor, and I'll leave the question in the chat.
Yeah, I can kick this off. Okay. Advice. So myself, I was a person who switched gears from data scientist to data engineer, right? I want to say the kind of mindset or kind of preparation I did back then is really understand like the data engineer role, right? What kind of skills that you need in terms to help you success or help you getting picked to the interview process. All right, and then I would say resume is definitely an important piece, right? I haven't looked at your resume, but I want to say some suggestions, right? So make sure all the bullet points that you have it in there are somewhat tied to the skills that a data engineer is needed, right? For example, I want to say some of the skills I can think of that would be super important for data eng is I want to say ETL, data modeling, database design, data schema design. Airflow will be kind of the important tools that people use. In terms of soft skills, definitely communication skills, collaboration, because engineer data eng to me is a middle bridge between upstream and downstream. Upstream is being the software engineer, downstream is the data analyst with the data user, right? You have to be a good communicator in between. I want to say don't get hung up on the tools, right? Because right now there's so many tools out there. I don't think a person can just learn them all, right? And even though at some points, such as you're staying in a company for a while, they're using Teradata, for example, but nowadays they realize, yeah, cloud is the way. Easily move on to cloud, right? And there's so many cloud services like Google, GCP, AWS, right? You can't learn them all, but something will be transparent. Once you learn one thing, it will be a lot easier for you to learn others. So yeah, my advice will be like, make sure you read the job description thoroughly. Sometimes it will give you some hints in terms of what they want you to do as a data engineer in their company, right? Make sure the kind of skills that you have on your resume are tied to that. Not the same, like exactly the same, but somehow tied to that. So that would be my piece of advice.
Okay, thank you, Fan. Yeah, I think there's another thing I want to mention. We have there's difference between the data scientist and data engineer. The key difference, as my understanding, is data engineering is more focused on the working on the pipeline, and also data scientists will be focused on the build-up model. Is both jobs are very challenge, and if you're new to the industry, but still depends on your personal interest. Is you should find which is best for you, and also our mentor will help you to find which role is better for you based on your resume and your experience. Yeah, so I believe I do know the engineering do require more self-studies, because as Phil mentioned, the different company they have different ecosystem. Like sometimes if you working on one system and a little bit, you need a little bit time to migrate to different system. Yeah, so so do you have any other questions? And you can just feel free to ask our mentor. I'll leave the question in the chat.
Yeah,
Since
I had a question.
yes,
I think it was you or somebody else that said that don't try to prepare for all parts, all areas of data science, but pick some and just stick to it. Otherwise, there's too much to learn. So first, I would ask if someone could like delineate which those different fields are. Secondly, I thought someone said that maybe finance or banking is not the right idea right now, and maybe that's because the banks are failing and stuff. If someone can expand on that. Yeah, that's my question. So delineate which the different fields are, if it's recommended to pick one or two out of those, delineate those, plus what do you think about banking and finance right now?
So again, like there's nothing wrong with banking and finance. Again, it depends on the domain knowledge that you have, right? So if you're from finance, then I would definitely recommend take those domain, do some analysis based on it. But since you're from physics background, as I mentioned earlier, I would pretty much focus specific to. I'll go to Kaggle, download specific data sets related to physics, and then do some data analysis, right? Right from there, I'll make myself stronger in those parts, and then I'll apply for jobs similar to those kind of roles. So I would just suggest that. And I don't like, I would also say that start from the data analysis first, and then you can go for data modeling, and then you can see what kind of algorithms that you need to use, what kind of machine learning algorithm that you need to choose depending on the problems. So I would suggest to start with data analysis first and then focus on that. And once you're comfortable with that, and that's when you can see how to interconnect data from one source to another. That's the data engineering part, right? How can you copy a set of data sets from one source to another? So that comes after that. So for you specifically, what I could suggest is just start with that and then be a data analyst and then take it from there.
So I don't understand the difference between data analyst, data modeler, and when you say data analyst, I think, is it just ETL, like cleaning the data? Is that what data analyst role is? And then data modeler, I've never heard before.
Yeah, no worries. I would say the exploration of data, right? So I'm giving you a data set. It has 1 million rows. Okay. I don't know what is a data set is about. As a data analyst, I want you to just give me 5 diagrams or 5 charts and tell me what the data set is, right? So how do you explore? How do you come up with a story for the data set? that's the most interesting part. And without understanding the data set, you won't be able to do some machine learning or prediction, classification, whatnot, right? So every data set has its own way of approaching it. First thing is to explore the data set and then look forward for the next.
Okay, and data model.
Yeah, once you understand what the data set is, so then you will see what algorithms that we should be used, right? So should we use a data modeler is different. I'm trending towards data science, right? Data modeler would be more of like he's kind of a subproduct of data engineer, I would say, because he would be more of saying how to link those different tables to form a meaningful architecture or a relationship model, right? Entity relationship model, we call it. So it's a different process. For your side, like for your perspective, I would just ask you to stick towards data analyst first. So the moment you are starting to explore more of the data sets and stuff, then you yourself will identify what is the next step. I don't want you to focus on what data engineer, data scientist, or data modeler. I want you to first focus on data analyst and then get comfortable with it and then take it further. Okay.
Okay.
I also share a link to our website. It's learn.wecloudData.com. And if you log into the WeCloudData, there is a called WeCloud Open. You can click in here. And we do have course for BI, which is a data analysis. And also we have data engineering and data science. They are totally free. You can self-enroll and watch learn from this course and find which is best for you. And also there are free SQL and the introduction to Python and give you the basic knowledge for these courses. And I believe you will have better idea or better understanding after you complete this self-paced course. So let's move to the next questions. And yeah, so I think there's another thing. Actually, is my experience. Like we do have some students. They are have some worries about if they are good, like they are able to find the data job. And so I always talk to them. The coding is always there. You always can Google or get a help to solve the problem or the questions. And the most valuable as a individual, I will recommend the way of your thought, your experience, like how your point of view to understand this problem, how you give the value for this data set. In terms of the skill side or the knowledge, do you have some recommends for the audience? Like for example, if I have lots of experience in for example, the printing industry, which I was doing for a long time, and I always like to connect the productions and the engineering. Do you think it's a good idea to connect my previous experience to the workflow, and also for example, if I want to explain, understand the views in my personal view to give the idea of the data, do you think I could be different from other candidates? Yeah, for example, I think there's an interest of explain to some students how I think about the data, right? So the data is I will imagine that like a cooking process. For example, I will say all the data like the food, right? So the recipe will be the models of it depends what kind of food you want to produce, Asian food, or other Indian food, or other Korean food. So that's your target. But all the food is there. So organic food is there. there's you have to make some sauce to make it taste like that. That's called the tuning, and the model will be the dishes you are making. So so for example, if I share this kind of knowledge in the interview, do you think it could give me some bonus? Or normally we will straightforward like follow on the questions on the, like for example, just give the strict questions and using more academic way to answer these questions, which is better way to approach.
Yeah, I would say like depends on the audience, right? Like sometimes people will throw the question at you. So normally what I would do is just ask, like if this is about a presentation questions, I'm gonna ask them, right? Who's the audience, right? There are audience with technical background and there are audience with non-tech background, right? But non-tech background, I would say definitely the way you took is smart, right? Because those people normally don't have like super strong idea like what else deep learning model it is, or black box, what does it mean? I have no idea. Like using like cooking as an analogy is definitely helping. But in terms of like technical people, for example, your direct manager, you probably would avoid using all those analogies that just get to the point, right? To find out what he needs. For example, if he's looking for some model result, just tell them, hey, what is the accuracy? What is the precision, right? Why am I using this? Why I'm using this model? What are the pros and cons, right? Just get to the points, right? Saying that, hey, this is something I choose. This is something I want to use instead of like having something else. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think it's very important to show the numbers to the interviewer, like what's the model performance and the accuracy. Yeah, so I know you guys have lots of students from WeCloudData. I'm just wondering how you consider like as a student who graduate from the WeCloudData. Do you think they are good enough to go to the job market, or it's better go to the our client project to do some more practice and then go through the interview? Like what would you recommend to these students? Yeah. Farzid, do you want to give some thought? Like, do you recommend students who graduate from our book, like school, and should they continue with our internal project, or is this they should wait a little bit?
So I just want to rephrase the question. So it's basically like you're asking me if it's better to have the school education as well the WeCloudData education.
Oh, sorry, I mean like for the student who graduate from the WeCloudData, and would you recommend to do let them take on one or two client projects, or you will recommend them just try to apply some job to try some luck?
Oh, definitely projects first, right? So that's a way that you are explaining the interviewer of what you have applied already. Even though if you don't have an experience before, you can say have an in-depth and confidence on the projects that you're dealing with. Again, there is multiple ways, guys. It's not rocket science. People have done it. So basically, you can actually simulate one project from your seniors who are suggests. There are multiple projects in Kaggle. Just download the same data set, download the same code, explain it, like go through it, understand it, and then recreate it on your own way. So that could be one of your projects. So that's the easier way to start and analyze those projects of other people's work and think why did they take that approach, and then implement what you have learned from the bootcamp, and then try to improvise it, recreate it that way that you will have a couple of profiles under your belt.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so we have if we have some new audience just joining, so if you have any question, you can just unmute yourself or leave question in the chat. Our mentor will help you to answer these questions. Yeah, I think I'll leave more time for audience. Just make sure they have enough time to ask the questions. Oh, and if there's no questions, I have to continue ask some questions. Yeah. So, oh, sorry. Do you have questions?
I do have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So yesterday I'd joined another session from WeCloudData, and the host there said that it's probably possible to join your program as a trial for a few days. Is that correct?
We have some recordings of our program, and if you're interested, we can let you join, and you can watch some like pre-recordings, and also in the first few days you can join the bootcamp and feel if that fits your expectations. Yes, and if you not happy, we will give you a refund. Yeah, in the first few days. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Great.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah. Oh, and actually, I do have something to ask. It's about our students, and so we have. I know there are some students. Sorry, let me just share this successful stories. Sorry, some of the students is not very updated, and yep. So we have some students are land a job as senior data engineer, and also we have students land a job as a senior data scientist. Yeah. So what I'm gonna ask is, do you think there's any comments for these students who get success? Do you think they are like working hard enough? Is it the key of just do the more practice, like a hardworking, more like a practice, or just prepare a lot for the interview? Which is the most common skills they have when they prepare for the interview?
Yeah, I would say the feedback mechanism is very important when, especially with respect to mentorship program. So we meet them. I meet them every week, once or twice or thrice, depending on the number of jobs they're applying for, and it definitely depend highly. I would say it's mentees most. It's 90% of the job is mentees' job, because they are the one who's applying for jobs, preparing and having a chat with us. It's mentor's job is to grasp what are the strong suits of the mentees and identify the weakness and show them how to present themselves. That's pretty much it. So the rest it's all the credit goes to the mentees. So they have to be on top of the applications. They need to apply for all the jobs in the markets related to the role that they are applying for. They need to have a conversation with us. They need to prepare a mock interview with us, and also attend the real interviews while listening to our feedbacks. The people who showed more interest and passion and get more the job that they wanted, they definitely landed in the jobs. No matter what time frame it is, they definitely landed those jobs.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think one of the common things that those students who find a job fast is self-driven, right? What I normally tell the students is that, hey, you are on the driver's seat, I'm on the passenger seat. I can tell you are on the pedal, right? So the way how hard it is, like you can work as hard as you can. My job is just helping you to go to the right direction. Like if there are any shortcut, I'll tell you to help you success faster. But if you're thinking about, hey, I can just join this program and I can just do nothing and get a job like that, I'll say it's really hard, right? You have to be pushing, you have to be the one control the pace, pushing all the time, right? I hate to tell people like, hey, this week you need to do this and that. It's not the case, right? You are the one finding a job. We are the one helping you to success, right? And yeah, I would say like some of my students are just like pushing really hard. I'm happy to do that as well. If you want to have a daily meeting, I can do that too if you want. But you need to let me know what do you need, right? And circle back to Parzy's the point. I think one of the points is really good is the feedback. It's normally what I do as well. Like after their interviews, we will talk about it no matter what. She will go through all the questions and her answers with me. I'll give her feedbacks in terms of how she can improve next time. So I think in this way it will be more efficient.
Great, thank you. We have another questions, and it's about the resume. So usually resume are scanned through ATS system. Any particular suggestion to handle this step and move on a step forward? Yeah, so
Sorry.
how they do? Yeah.
Sorry, handle what?
How to handle this step? How to handle the ATS system? So I think there is a system to automatically scan the resume, and they will filter out the resume who is not qualified, who is qualified. Yeah. How to any like a practical suggestion to handle this step? I think it's a part of the polish resume, and how to like get more interview. I think before that, first of all, how many let's talk about the students who successfully get a job. How many resume normally they send out, and if there are any improvement from their resume, for example, what's the improvement to increase the interview chances? Yeah, on the resume. Yeah, Farzeh, do you want to try to answer this question? Normally, what you say the most mistake made on the resume, and the student now able to get lots of interviews, and after some improvement you done for students, and they do receive some interview, and how many resume they send out, and they do able to land a job after that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so it's just the format of what they have for first, and then the spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. So even though they have they have a good background, sometimes there are grammar mistakes. I've found a couple of them, and also the way the template that I have 2 to 3 different templates which actually work well when applying for jobs, and I actually had 10 templates. I was trying out with different templates, but those 3 work really well. I'm not sure. I don't know the logic behind it, but those 3. Whenever I change those 3 templates for all my mentees, it worked really well, and I've heard that from my mentees as well. Plus the template, grammar, and spelling mistakes if there are any, and a good. It has to be pretty decent, right? It shouldn't be messy and stuff. And have document and also PDF handy so that you can mostly apply with PDFs, and then unless if they don't ask so.
Yeah, just to add something, right? So definitely I agree with all the points, right? So also to pass the scan, I would say something is helpful is having a lot of keywords there. Sometimes I've seen students saying that they just make machine learning models and that's it. I just mentioned the accuracy and such. In their resume, I don't see Python even once. So my question is that if you don't mention it, nobody will know, right? Not to mention the machine. Definitely mention it. Like what kind of languages you use, what kind of tools you use. If you use a cloud, just mention it. And mention to some level of details, right? Because sometimes people just say, hey, I did troubleshooting, for example. But when I look at it, my question is that troubleshooting on what did you do? What is the impact? Because when I look at the resume, right, I can't talk to, you can't explain anything. It is solely based on the resume. Whatever you present on the paper, I will decide whether you can get an interview or not based on that. So yeah, definitely details and keywords are important too.
Great, thanks. Yeah, actually there's something I just thought we know sometimes we want you to send as many resume as possible. But there any way, for them, for audience, for the students, they can do some A/B testing. They test the resume. Is there a problem from the resume, or it's just their experience? Because they don't want to screw up when they send for them. They want to go to the TD, they try it, they don't get a response, and the next probably they're not gonna accept it once. Is there any strategy you will let the student try? I know it's gonna be hard because it's kind of like if you don't try on the job expect, you're not gonna get the real result. But if you try it, you probably lost that a chance in the future. Yeah. Any comments on this?
So I have another question.
Go ahead.
So with the, so many layoffs in the tech and all those data scientists which were hired in 2021, and, companies were hoarding talent. The job market is so bad, and many companies are like very hesitant to hire full-time employee. I was thinking, what about chances of doing some consulting or contract work? I feel like companies may feel a little bit easier to get someone on a contract. So is it possible to do that? Is there particular kinds of skills, particular kinds of use cases that one could get good on and then go to companies and say, hey, I can do this particular type of task for you, and can you outsource that task to me? What are your thoughts on that?
Depends on the company, Swapnil. So basically, it's just that you need to keep an eye of what's company is asking, right? There's no one concept that every company wants. So every company is tailored to their requirements. So basically, you need to look after their requirements and apply accordingly. So with the layoffs, like again, it's unfortunate. Like things happening. Sometimes it's definitely not the person's fault. It's just that the company is failing together, and they need some cost cutting, right? So as some people fired, like many companies hire too, right? So it's just that you need to understand the market and then apply for the jobs that you are good at, and get the job done. Having to say that there's no specific concepts for specific companies. So it depends on the job requirements, and we are trying to cover you on a general on a generic way, but then like with respect to tools and technologies, right? You need to know Python, SQL to become a better data analyst, right? And then you need to know machine learnings and AI and stuff, and NLP programs, so that you become a data scientist. So you kind of learn those techniques and you apply for those specific jobs, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it has some comments on this. Like, for example, we know Amazon lay off some data scientists. And if I'm a small business and I was eager to hire them, so I don't think the like cut off or layoff is a big issue. If you come from the good background and you're always able to find your role, and also actually you don't hear the cut off from the for example, you don't hear cut off from RBC or CIBC, the banking industry or Kenyan company, because it still is a high demand like predictions. The cutoff I agree is only the financial move they had to do, but there are still a big demand on the market. And yeah, I believe even though they lost job, but they should be able to find job like a faster in average. Yeah. Also, in terms of the consulting or no, I will say it will be for most of the students or candidates, I won't recommend to do the consulting, because consulting, which means you have to do lots of things other than just machine learning or data scientist job. There will be more skill requirement, and it's not, I will say this way, it's not that stable. So if you can find a job, I will recommend to do that. It's more stable compared with consulting. Yeah. but it's only my comments, and because I don't have lots of experience, but I'm feeling it's like it's best to land first their job, and also even though you want to become consultant, you still have to show some experience, right? So it will be it will be great, like if you can have some experience first. After that, you can do the consulting.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the audience? And I think we only have 10 minutes left. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. And so we do have a questions. Okay. Okay, so we have a question from Tamers, and is asking about become a solution architect, which is the most popular and challenging certifications in the market. I think this more for the yeah, so it's more for I think it's different from the engineer. For my feelings, it's more like you are architecture building up the database. First of all, I'm not very sure the demands on this and also the experience requirements for the certificates, and also the knowledge is one thing. I will say the experience is another thing. And yeah, so I do have some recommendations for now, but if you want to into any industry, you have the education is very important, and also you have to find a way to use your knowledge, do more practice, work on more projects. And I do have chance to watch YouTube, sorry, not YouTube, Udemy course, and they do cover some of that, but I'm feeling it is yeah, it is a lots of like logic, and it's probably depend on the tools, right? So different ecosystem, they use different like platform. So know about this platform is very important. Yeah, but unfortunately, I do have some suggestion because I know from that industry. Yeah, but if you are, if you have some suggestion, please tell us know. But for me, yeah, I don't have any good suggestion on that.
Yeah, I think just to add something, right? So if this is what I'm thinking, like solution architect, I think it has something to do with IT as well, right? You're designing a solution including not so less on the modeling side, on the data side, but you need to consider the infrastructure a little bit more, and also as well as the hardware. Just nowadays, like I'll say definitely for sure, right? People are using cloud more and more. More than cloud, like there are Docker's containers around the places. How do you make sure everything is connected? How do you make sure everything is aligned, plays well in the system, and also costs less, right? That's definitely a huge demand on, I would say, most of the company, especially nowadays that people are using cloud. They want someone to be there, help them understand, hey, this is the best for your current infrastructure. Of course, your job will be there, understand their data, understand their needs, understand their use case, and help them build a solution to fit all those projects with the product together. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it is has comments as the engineer, but it's before like create everything from scratch, and I think the salary wise could be very good, but I'm just not sure about the demands because not all the company they want to rebuild the architecture because it's very expensive, I believe, and also time consuming.
Again, on that note, we can also follow up thing is that most of the US companies, they prefer AWS cloud solutions, plus AWS Amazon Web Services. And most of the Canadian companies, they prefer Azure. GCP is just like stepping up for most of the machine learning projects. But again, if you're applying for US-based companies, then you should be, if you are good at AWS, then apply for US-based companies. If you're really good at, if you are good at a certification, solution architect certification in Azure, apply for Canadian companies. The chances are getting, the chances are more of getting you hired.
Okay, so I have one more question here. So we talked about the Azure and the AWS, right? So which one is actually the better one? Is it Azure or is it AWS?
It's the same thing, right? Again, as I mentioned, both of the cloud services has the similar functionalities, but with a different name, right? So if it's an S3 in AWS, it's a Azure Blob Storage in Azure, right? There are differences. Like you can just directly Google web services between AWS, Azure, GCP. You will get a tabular format of the services, the same services, but with different names. So irrespective of what you do, it's all transferable. Like if you say, like if you have done a certification in Azure, you can definitely sustain an AWS environment. All you need is to just know what services what, and then you should be able to build the same level of architecture.
Okay,
Does it make sense? Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Thank you.
Okay, great. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us at info@WeCloudData.com, and also you can I think you can join the LinkedIn. We have Fan and Friday there, and if you want to find them on the LinkedIn, I believe they are happy to connect. And also, as I mentioned earlier, so we do have a new bootcamp start on this May 30th and May 23rd. We have full time on May 23rd or May 30th. If you want to upskill as a data scientist, and please join our bootcamp. And we, as I mentioned, we do provide the real client project for new grads, and also we have mentor is one section, and we give you the career support. And normally it's 6 months, and if you need more than 6 months, we're also happy to help you. Our goal is help you to land a job smoothly, and most important, we do help lots of career switcher and to land your job. I think that's all for tonight, and thank you, fans. Thank you, Farzeh. It's a very impressive evening. There's lots of information and lots of knowledge for our audience. And I hope we can have another meeting in the next month if you guys still available. Yeah, so great. So very nice meeting you, everyone, and hope you guys have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Adam. Thank you guys for asking more questions.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.